Everyone. Today's topic of presentation is going to be backyard orchard culture. And I think you'll find as we discuss backyard orchard culture that there are a lot of similarities and a lot of discrepancies to what is done in commercial orchard culture. So I want you to pay attention to those and make use of those. They're all very informative points, and I think if you just take home a little bit of this information today and make it useful, you'll find how relatively simple fruit gardening can be. And one of the worst things that's happened over the last 50 to 100 years is most of the information that we've gleaned on fruit gardening in general has come from the UC systems, from Davis, from Riverside, from the Cal Polys, from all kinds of different agricultural schools throughout the southwestern United States. Unfortunately, most of those programs have been geared to commercial agriculture. Very, very little has been done to benefit the backyard grower. So what we're really trying to do through Dave Wilson Nursery is make backyard fruit growing simpler and more of a pleasurable experience for you. Trying to take some of the intimidating factors out of it and just make it simplified, easy to do, and something that you'll look forward to instead of something that you'll be intimidated by. So first off, how many people here are growing at least one fruit tree? Pretty much everybody. I think that that's a given in Southern California. We have almost a perfect climate to grow just about any type of fruit tree we want. You know, there are people in Southern California that are growing papayas next to their cherry trees, and there are very few places in this country where that can be accomplished. So and we'll discuss some of those things as we go along, but there's really three basic concepts to backyard orchard culture. If you just go home with these three concepts today, it'll make your backyard growing experience so much more pleasurable and easy. So, number one, size control trees so that they're manageable for you. The reason that commercial agriculture in the past has grown a large tree is because they have large equipment. They have a lot of people and they have a lot of space and a lot of equipment to go out there and do the work that they need to do. So it doesn't mean that you need to grow a Fuji apple to 30 feet or a mini royal cherry to 25 feet or even something to 15 or 18 feet. You need to choose a size that's manageable for you and keep your trees pruned down to that size. And what I've found over the years, and there's over 40 years of growing fruit trees under backyard conditions, that what's manageable for me is simple. I stand next to my tree and I put my hand up. And right there where my hand comes to this point, that's the top of my tree. That's where the trees are going to be pruned out at. I don't need anything any larger than that. I don't have a commercial expectation in my crop or my yield, so I'm not looking for what a commercial grower is looking for. I'm looking for something that's simple and manageable to give my family and my friends and a few neighbors a usable amount of fruit. A commercial expectation is almost unreasonable. And I learned that lesson the hard way. I learned that lesson starting off in 1978 when I put in my very first fruit tree. And my wife and I just got married, 1st of July, 1978. We bought our first house. And we were moving into the house right after the 4th of July weekend. And I had some furniture stored over at my grandfather's house, so I took a truck and a couple of guys over there picked up the furniture. My grandfather at the time had in his backyard a beautiful Santa Rosa plum. You guys know Santa Rosa plum? Great variety, self-fruitful. Low chill, very adaptable, great pollinizer for other Japanese plum and pluoc varieties. Ripe late June through the first couple of weeks of July. So, you know, it's a hot July day and we picked some Santa Rosa plums and we went back to my new house and moved the furniture in and ate some plums, and it was a great afternoon. And my wife points out to me, there's a big kind of a leaded glass octagon window in the southwest corner of the room. And she said, you know, we probably want to put some sort of a deciduous tree out there so that we can block that summer sun, but allow light exposure during the winter. So the light went on in my head and I thought, okay, I'm going to put a Santa Rosa plum out there. My grandfather's not going to have that tree forever, and these are just great plums. So the time I was working for Armstrong Nurseries in Ontario, went to work the next day, brought home a 5-gallon Santa Rosa plum, planted it out about 10 feet off the window, doubles in size through the summer, goes dormant next winter, spring it blooms, puts on a few plums. I was greedy that first year. I didn't share any with my wife. I had 6 or 8 of these plums. First week in July, I ate them all, and they were delicious. And next year, you know, trees doubled in size again, starting to shade that window. 30, 35 plums that next summer. Shared a few with my wife, shared a few with a neighbor. Everything's good. Fast forward about 10 years down the road. The tree's now 20 feet tall, about 12 feet wide. Every year in early July, I absolutely dread coming home and looking at that tree because I've got 500, 600, 700 plums all coming off that tree in a 2 or 3 week period. So what are you going to do with all that fruit? I'm bagging it as fast as I can. The kids are taking it to school. I'm taking it to work. Pretty soon the neighbors don't answer the door anymore. You know what that is? That's a commercial expectation. That's a commercial harvest. 500, 600, 700 pieces of fruit off of a full-size tree. That's what a farmer's looking for. But myself, at that time, I realized this is way too much fruit for me. I mean, we didn't make plum preserves or plum tarts or dehydrated fruit. I just like to eat some fresh plums. So if I have 50 or 75 or maybe 100 of any one variety that's going to ripen in a 2 or 3 or 4 week period of time, I'm perfectly happy with that. So growing a big tree to get a maximum yield under backyard conditions doesn't make sense. It just doesn't work out for the average backyard grower. Now, things that are going to hang on the tree for a little longer, avocados, most citrus, you know, I'm okay if you want to grow a bigger tree and you want to manage it with a pole pruner or something instead of doing your work from the ground. That's okay because the fruit's going to hang on there for months instead of weeks. But when it comes to most deciduous varieties, and even most citrus varieties for me, I don't need that much fruit. I need, you know, usable small amounts for my family. So a tree that's this size is perfectly manageable for me. I can do all my work from the ground. I can do all my pruning, my thinning, my harvesting. If I need to go in and do anything spraying-wise or anything like that, it can all be done in a matter of minutes. You don't have to drag out the ladder and the big pole pruner and you know, climb up in the tree and try and do cumbersome work up there. Keep it simple. Now, when I say that I want you to choose a size that's manageable for you, that's exactly what I mean. So you don't even need to ask me what size a tree should be because you're the one that's going to determine that. I'm not going to determine how big your tree should be. And if you want to manage a tree that's 20 feet and you think that you can easily do that, I'm not telling you not to. What I'm telling you is it's easier to manage a small tree than it is to manage a big tree. So take that for what it's worth. The first concept of backyard orchard culture. Choose a size that's manageable for you. Keep your trees pruned to that size. You'll get plenty of fruit for backyard conditions. You don't have a commercial grower's expectation. So keep it manageable, number one. Number two, plant successive ripening varieties so that you have a little bit of fruit all the time instead of a lot of fruit at any one given time. Again, you don't have a farmer's expectation. You're not going to take your fruit and sell it. You're not going to set up a roadside stand or go and peddle fruit at the fruit market. What you're going to do is just grow usable amounts for you and your family. So in that same place where I had that one giant Santa Rosa plum, the new concept is, instead of planting one tree, you plant 4. So I can put in a beauty plum that ripens in June, my Santa Rosa that ripens in early July, burgundy plum that's late July and into August, and a flavor finale pluot that ripens August into September. 4 trees in the place of one, managed as one fruiting structure, so like a multi-trunk fruiting structure, that's going to give you fruit for a 2 or 3 month period of time instead of a 2 week period of time. Doesn't that make sense? That's backyard orchard culture, concept number 2. So don't be intimidated by doing that. You know, everybody says, well, farmers have their trees 20 feet apart. Yeah, the farmers are running a big John Deere tractor through their orchard 3 or 4 times a week. They're bringing big trucks and lots of people out to do their work. How many people run a John Deere through their backyard? Then you don't need to space trees like a farmer does. You don't need 15 or 18 or 12 feet in between trees. You don't need roadways through your backyard. All you need to be able to do is manage it yourself. So you choose a size, you choose a spacing, you choose a scheduling of how you want your trees to ripen and when you want your fruit, and that's how you plant. So size control and successive ripening, the first 2 concepts of backyard orchard culture. Number 3 is pretty simple. Number 3 is I want you to do your homework. I want you to choose varieties that you will like, that you will eat, that your family will eat, that you'll use in your daily culinary practices, things that you want to use. It doesn't do you any good to plant things that you really don't have a use for. And I know everybody likes to experiment. You know, whenever something new comes out, we all want to grow something new. We added a new item to our inventory this year, goji berries. And actually, we added it last year. We grew 2,000 last year. And I went out on a limb this year. They said, well, how many you want to grow? 4,000 or 5,000? And I go, no, I want to grow 25,000 this year. And everybody looked at me like I was insane. To this date, this morning, I looked at my numbers. We've sold 24,600. Wow. It's something new. It's exciting. It's all the buzz. High antioxidant. You know, it's got great acclaim from the American Medical Association. We know that it's an easy plant to grow. It'll grow just about anywhere. So it's something new and exciting, and everybody wants to try it. I want you to experiment. But I want you to limit your experimentation to 20% or less of what you're doing. 80% of what you're doing should be tried and true varieties. Varieties that have a good reputation in your area. Varieties that are grown on a rootstock that is adaptable to your soil and your climate. And varieties that you like and you'll use. I had a great phone call about 10 years ago. Guy, it's about October, and the guy says to me, what do you do with quince? I thought to myself for a minute. I said, you know, when I was a kid, I used to throw them at cats on my grandmother's back fence. And he says, yeah, you know, my wife's a cat lover, and here's my deal. Because about 5 years ago, I went down to the Kmart. It was the end of the bare root season, and they had all their leftover trees on sale for $5. I said, hey, that's a great price. You can't even grow a tree for $5 anymore. He says, yeah, but all they had left were quince, so I bought 5 of them. So minimal investment of $25, but now consider 5 years worth of your time, 5 years worth of garden space, 5 years worth of irrigation, 5 years worth of pruning, 5 years worth of fertilizing, to grow a beautiful crop of quince and have no idea what to do with it. So understand the varieties that you're putting in. Know what kind of fruit you're going to get. Make sure you like those varieties and understand how to use them, whether it's a fresh fruit like a peach or an apple or a navel orange, or a processing fruit like quince that you're going to make, you know, tarts and jams and jellies out of, you know. And I have very fond memories of my grandmother's quince tarts and quince jellies and things like that. And I'll probably never be able to replicate the flavors that I have in my memory, and that's why I don't grow quince. You know, I don't really have a use for it. I don't really want to go through that work. I'd rather just pick something off the tree and eat it. So choose your varieties wisely. Those are the 3 main concepts of backyard orchard culture. Size control so it's manageable for you. Grow successive ripening varieties so you have a little bit of fruit all the time instead of a lot of fruit at any one given time. And grow varieties that you like and you'll use that are adapted to your area. So this would be a time when, if you guys have any questions on those 3 subjects, you can ask them now. Questions, concerns? Yes?
On number 2, you talked about having more trees in a space of what the bigger tree would have been. Were you talking about one of those trees that have like 4 types of fruit on the same tree?
Good point, good point. Multiple budded trees as opposed to multiple planted trees.
Right.
I like them both.
Oh.
And here's why I like them both. I really like multiple budded trees because Dave Wilson Nursery, the company that I represent, is the largest grower of multiple budded trees in the world. Multiple budded trees are expensive, and I sell a lot of them, and I make a good commission on those. So I love multiple budded trees, and they're successful. But now there's a point, and I'll just discuss this point real quick, although we'll talk about it again later. But when you're growing anything along these lines, whether it's multiple budded or multiple planted, the recipe for success is never letting any one variety dominate the combination. So if you've got a 3-in-1 or a 4-in-1, whether it's on one tree or whether it's 3 or 4 plants planted together, you're going to be checking size on the vigorous varieties so that they never become any larger than the weakest variety in the combination. This gives you balance. If you don't have balance, the dominant varieties will overtake the combination in a short period of time, 1 to 2 years. So you're always keeping varieties in check. You're always never letting anything dominate the combination to become any larger than the weakest variety in the combination. And it works either way. And the nice thing about a multiple planted combination as opposed to a multiple budded tree is you can choose the varieties. If you're going to plant a multiple budded tree, you're going to choose what I want to sell you. Although I think we've done a pretty good job of coming up with good combinations, maybe they don't fit your needs. You know, maybe you buy the Zager Pride Peach combination that has May Pride and Eva's Pride and Mid Pride and August Pride, which is May, June, July, August. Well, maybe you're gone every year for the month of July. So you don't need Mid Pride. You would want the May Pride and Eva's Pride and skip the mid and go to the August Pride and then maybe plant a later variety like Korea.
That part off.
Well, yeah, you can do that. But see, if you're buying that 4-in-1, then you're cutting off part of your investment. So by planting a multiple planted combination, you can choose the varieties that you want. And the other concept there is you want to plant varieties that are compatible, can grow together. So try and find varieties that all grow on the same rootstock. Like those 4 peaches will all grow on Nemagard or Level or Citation. So if you planted that combination, you plant them all on the same rootstock so that they were compatible. The same thing with citrus, the same thing with avocados, the same thing with any type of fruit. Just grow compatible varieties together.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah?
Does the, is it Bella Rosa, what is it, cotton need,
Bella Gold?
there you go. Does it need, a pollinator and?
Absolutely.
And which one do you need?
Yeah, Bella Gold will pollinate either with apricots, early blooming apricots or aprium, like Flora Gold or Gold Kissed or Flavor Delight aprium, or it will pollinate with Burgundy plum or late Santa Rosa plum, or several of the pluots like Flavor King, Flavor Queen, Flavor Grenade. It's pretty easy to pollinate.
And the apricot that you guys sell, it is, now I've got the varieties off, but I think it is.
We should probably talk about varieties later, because I go down a road and every time somebody asks a question, I'll make a left or make a right. So I want to try and keep it on the subject of the 3 concepts that I discussed already for questions. Yes?
Nature of where I live, all my stuff is potted. And I've had different guidance on whether I need semi-dwarf or dwarf in the potted varieties. The guidance I've been given is that when you pot them, a semi-dwarf's not going to grow any bigger than a dwarf would anyway. Does the rootstock make that much difference if you're talking about a reasonable size?
We'll discuss potted in detail as we go on.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
Do most nurseries educate properly on chill requirements for Southern California?
No, most nurseries don't even understand chill requirements for Southern California. In fact, the people that came up with the 2 scales don't even understand chill requirements for Southern California. So the biggest problem with the whole chill system is it doesn't work. The whole chill system is based on false information that doesn't work in Southern California. They rate chill as going until March 1st. We don't get chill until March 1st. We don't get chill until maybe the end of January. Now I've noticed that a couple of the CMIS rating stations have changed it this year to reflect only until the end of January. So I'm doing lots of experiments when it comes to chill requirements for varieties. And one of the handouts today is low chill varieties, that are varieties that are all under 500 hours. Well, in working with 3 different programs at the Irvine Field Station, the South Coast Research and Extension Center, in cooperation with Dr. John Kawashima, who will be co-writing the reports with me, we're doing chill studies on 3 different types of fruit trees. We're doing chill studies on interspecifics, which would be pluot, aprium, cherry plums, nectar plums, triple crosses, all of those interspecific varieties. We're doing chill requirement evaluation of general low chill backyard varieties for Orange County or for coastal Southern California. And we're doing a chill requirement study on high chill apple varieties, all over 500 hours. Now the Irvine Field Station this year, if you go by the 2 different CMIS recommendations, the 2 different CMIS accumulation numbers, if you use the model that subtracts hours above 70 from November 1st to January 31st, we have had 23 hours. If you go by the scale that does not subtract those hours, we've had 147. So most of the varieties in everything that I have in my program, except for the low chill Southern California varieties trial, everything that I have there is 500 hours and over. They're all producing fruit this year with either less than 150 or less than 25 hours. So the whole theory of chill accumulation in general for Southern California doesn't make sense. We've known that for years. I've got 1,000-hour apple varieties in there that are setting apples now with 23 hours of chill. So I want you to use that as a gauge. I don't want you to take that as a positive or as something that you can't negotiate from. It's a gauge of recommended varieties that we know do well under low chill conditions, but it doesn't mean that that's all you can grow in the area. So as we go further on with these studies, we'll have more accumulated information. I'm really excited about the apple trial because every one of those varieties is 500 hours and over, and we've had nothing near that this year. So we'll be coming up with some new information on chill for
It's
Southern
always
California.
particularly challenging for the consumer that is not in class right now.
You're absolutely right. That's why I'm not doing this as a study in Tom Spellman's backyard or in somebody's backyard in Costa Mesa, but I'm doing it in cooperation with the UC system so that I can actually publish a paper that has some backing behind it, through somebody with the UC system that's going to say, yeah, we participated in this program with Tom and this is the results that we found. So it's documented. It's not going to be just something that I'm saying. And that's the only way that it can properly be done. But we've known for years, 30 years, in working with California rare fruit growers and master gardener groups and all kinds of gardening groups and organizations through the UC system around Southern California, that the whole theory of chill doesn't matter now. It doesn't make any sense. What does come into play, what is important, is how you treat your trees and how you put your trees into dormancy. And we'll discuss that further in the lecture today. Yes, one more question, then we'll move on.
Concerning size, you said prune to the size you want to keep. What if they're already 20, 25 feet, specifically citrus? Is it best to trim them or prune them successively year after year?
That's your option. You have a couple of different options on that. And what you're talking about, pruning them successfully or successively over a 3-year period, would be what an arborist would call drop crotching. So they're going to take a 30-foot tree and they're going to take 10 feet off it the first year. And they're going to get another season's worth of regrowth. And then they're going to take another 10 feet off it the second year. And they're going to get another season's of regrowth. And they're going to take another 10 feet off it the third year. So theoretically, by that point, you should have something that's down less than 10 feet, which would, in turn be manageable. But here's the bad point of that. Now you've got 3 years worth of an arborist's participation in pruning your tree with trucks and equipment and people coming into your yard 3 times at probably minimum $200 a pop. So your Eureka lemon tree that you wanted to make smaller now cost you $600. So is it economically feasible to do that? And you can do it yourself, but the other alternative is you start with that drastic cut. Instead of bringing it down in stages, you bring it down all at once. You bring that tree down to knee high. And you haul away all the brush and you whitewash that stump that's left there, and in 1 season or half a season you regrow a nice big fruiting bush. So you come into that tree about the middle of June or early July, and you segregate out 6 or 7 or 8 nice well-spaced branches off of that main cut, and you take everything else off, and then you bring those back down to about 4.5 feet, and you grow it out for the rest of the summer. Now you have a 7 or 8 foot tree that's maintainable at that size forever and ever, and the only thing you lost was 1 season's worth of fruit. So, and that is done hundreds of thousands of times every year in commercial agriculture. In fact, if you drive down through San Diego County now and look at the avocado groves, you'll see portions of those groves that were stubbed down to very small structure and whitewashed and allowed to regrow. So this is not rocket science. It's not complicated. It's not something that requires a certified arborist to come in and do for you. All it is a simple restructuring to gain size control. And that's done all the time.